In what ways were the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths different? And what was the relationship of the Visigoths to ancient Rome? Interesting question. The Visigoths and the Ostrogoths. First of all, both these names, the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths, it has a common term, Goths. Who are the Goths? The Goths were a Germanic people who originally lived in Eastern Europe. So let's go to Google. They essentially lived in parts of Ukraine and Eastern Europe. So let's Google this. Gothic people, original homeland. Original homeland of the Gothic people. Scandinavia. They originated in Scandinavia, but they used to live in Eastern Europe. Oh, okay. Here we have it. The Gothic people. This was their homeland. As you can see, they originated somewhere in Scandinavia, but they lived in Eastern Europe, the Ukraine region, and so on. So they originally came from Scandinavia. They came down south, and eventually they lived in present-day Ukraine, Romania, all of that. Okay, so they were living there in the 3rd century AD, roughly, let's say. So the Goths live in the Ukraine region, Eastern European region, around 3rd century AD. Then you have a Hunnic invasion of Europe. Huns. Who are these Huns? The same Huns who were invading India at the time. The same Huns. They ruled Central Asia and the steppe region of Europe and all that. And they wanted, their motto was, we should rule the world. If we can, we should. Right? We are well organized, we are barbaric, we can tolerate any hardship, we should rule the world. So they were trying to invade India and Rome at the same time, the Huns. The Huns eventually founded something called Hungary. Hungary, Hungary. So the Huns, they invaded Europe. The invasion began around this time. So the Gothic people who were living in Ukraine and Romania, the eastern parts of Europe, they're like, where do we go now? The Huns are too barbaric, too powerful. They will destroy us. So they started knocking on the doors of the Roman Empire. Please let us in. Please, we have to survive. Let us in. So the Romans allow the Goths to come into the Roman Empire and settle on the banks of the Danube River, a river named after an ancient Vedic goddess, Danube. So the Goths settled down along the Danube River, and in a couple of years they fight Rome and defeat Rome in Adrianople, Eridne in Turkey. So they fight Rome, they defeat Rome, major defeat in Adrianople, but eventually they kind of become allies and enemies of the Romans at the same time. A lot of Gothic soldiers served in the Roman armies. Sometimes the Goths fought the Romans. In the 5th century, the Goths sacked Rome, which was a traumatic event for Rome. I think 410 AD or something. Alaric I was the Gothic king who sacked Rome. So these Goths who sacked Rome, they are called the Visigoths, the Western Goths, because they eventually went westwards and they founded a kingdom in what the Romans called Iberia, which is now called Spain. Visigothic Iberia. They founded a Gothic kingdom in Iberia, in Spain. And they ruled until the Arabic invasion of Iberia. Okay, and the Arabs ruled Iberia, Spain, for a few centuries, and eventually the Goths were able to defeat them in the Reconquista. So the Spanish are the descendants of the Ostrogoths. The Visigoths, the Western Goths. So the Goths eventually split into two branches, the Western Goths and the Eastern Goths. The Western Goths are the Visigoths. The Eastern Goths are the Ostrogoths. The Eastern Goths, they founded a kingdom in Italy. Yeah. So the Eastern Goths had a kingdom in Italy, and the Western Goths had a kingdom in Spain. And the descendants of those people are the Spaniards of today. Of course, it's more complicated than that, but kind of, right? So that's the difference between the Eastern and the Western Goths. The Eastern are the Ostrogoths, and the Western are the Visigoths. And that's the relationship with Rome as well.